Okay, so I want you to picture a scenario, something that sounds, completely mundane.
Okay.
It's 7 in the morning, you've just showered,
Yeah.
you're standing in front of your closet, and you need to get dressed for work.
Ah, the daily decision.
The daily decision, right. And for most people, the friction here is purely logistical.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can't find the matching sock, or you're staring at a shirt wondering if that coffee stain from last week actually washed out. It's a minor
All
annoyance.
right. It's a chore, but it's not a crisis.
Exactly. But for a huge segment of the population, specifically for many autistic adults, this moment isn't a logistical problem. It's a minefield.
Yeah.
It's the opening battle of a daily war against their own nervous system. And the reality is, if they lose that battle at 7 a.m., the rest of the day is already compromised.
It's not an exaggeration at all to say that for a neurodivergent person with sensory processing differences, the wrong pair of socks can literally ruin a day.
And not ruin in the bad mood kind of way.
No, I mean, it can derail their ability to function,
Yeah.
period.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into a topic I think is just criminally overlooked: the hidden power of clothing for autistic adults.
That's a big one.
We're working off some really fascinating materials from Hey ASD, which is an autistic-owned brand and resource hub. And the mission here is to really flip the script on how we view getting dressed.
Mm-hmm.
We want to unpack why mainstream clothing is failing this community, get into the actual science of sensory-friendly design, and explore this idea that your wardrobe can be a legitimate mental health tool.
I really like how you frame that. We often think of accessibility as ramps or braille or closed
The
captions.
big obvious things.
Right. But we rarely stop to consider that our clothing is our most immediate environment. It's touching us 100% of the time.
Yeah.
If that environment is hostile, you just can't function at your peak.
So let's start with the why. Why is this such a struggle? Because I think the typical reaction, and I'll admit I've been guilty of this mindset, is to think, okay, the tag is scratching you. Just cut it off and ignore it.
Just ignore it, yeah.
Or the fabric is a little stiff. You'll get used to it. Why doesn't that work here?
That is the core misunderstanding. To get it, we have to look at something called sensory gating.
Okay.
Think of your brain like a nightclub, and there's a bouncer at the door.
I'm with you. The bouncer is the filter.
Exactly. If you're neurotypical, your bouncer is incredible at his job. He stands at the door of your awareness. You put on a shirt, and for a split second, you feel the seam on your shoulder. The bouncer checks it, says, "Is this dangerous?" "No." "Okay, you're not on the list." And he kicks that sensation out. You literally stop feeling it. Your brain just deletes the data.
So it becomes background noise. I don't feel my socks right now because my brain decided it wasn't important.
Precisely. But for many autistic adults, that bouncer, he's on break. Or he just lets everyone in. The brain doesn't filter it out.
So it keeps noticing.
It registers that scratchy tag or that tight waistband as a fresh, new, urgent signal. Every single second. It's not background noise. It's a siren.
That sounds absolutely exhausting.
It's incredibly draining. There was a quote in the source material from a community member named Jordan that actually made me stop and reread it.
Oh, yeah.
Jordan was talking about finally finding a sensory-friendly hoodie and said, "It's the first one that doesn't make me want to crawl out of my skin."
Wow. Crawl out of my skin. That is so visceral.
It is.
It's not this is annoying. It's my body is rejecting this.
It recontextualizes the whole conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We aren't talking about being picky. We're talking about a physiological state of distress. The Hey ASD materials call this a daily stress or a battery drain.
A battery drain.
Imagine you have a battery for the day. If you spend 30% of your energy just suppressing the urge to rip your clothes off because the seams feel like sandpaper,
Yeah.
you have 30% less energy for everything else.
For your job, your relationships, anything.
Right.
That brings us to the design itself, because I think sensory-friendly has become a bit of a buzzword lately. You see it on everything now.
For sure. It's everywhere.
But looking at the Hey ASD guide, it's clear that true sensory-friendly design is, well, it's a lot more complex than just simping out the neck tag.
It is significantly more complex. The source breaks it down into what they call the big three: construction, fabrics, and fit.
Okay,
And if you miss even one of those, the whole garment fails.
let's break those down. Construction seems obvious. Get rid of the tag, but what else is going on there?
Well, think about the inside of a standard t-shirt. If you turn it inside out, you see those ridges where the fabric
The
joins.
seams, yeah, they're usually kind of raised.
That's usually an overlock seam. It's bulky, it's often done with a stiffer thread, and it creates a ridge. Now, for most people, you don't care.
You don't even notice.
But if you have heightened tactile sensitivity, that ridge can feel like a wire pressing into your skin.
So every time you move your arm, you're getting scraped by that ridge.
Constantly. So HeySD focuses on things like flat lock stitching, where the seam lays completely flat, or even seamless construction. It's about eliminating the topography of the garment. It has to be a smooth surface.
Okay, so that's construction. What about fabrics? I assume we're just talking about super soft cotton.
Cotton is a big player, yes, but it's more about the properties,
Mm.
breathability and softness.
Mm.
The real enemy here is cheap synthetics.
Uh,
You know that feeling when you wear a cheap polyester shirt and it feels like you're wrapped in plastic wrap?
oh, yeah. It gets clammy. It traps heat, and it gets that weird static cling.
That cling is a major issue. That unpredictable sticking to the skin is a massive trigger for a lot of people. The source highlights materials like bamboo, modal, high-quality cotton blends.
Because they breathe.
They regulate temperature, they don't trap sweat, and they have a consistent drape. They don't surprise you with a sudden cling when you reach for something.
Okay, that leads to the third pillar, which I found the most interesting because it felt like a contradiction at first. Fit.
Yeah, this one's nuanced.
On one hand, you have people demanding loose, non-restrictive clothing, but then the notes also mention people who need tight compression. How do you design for both?
Well, you don't design one item for both. You acknowledge that sensory needs exist on a spectrum. The loose crowd needs to eliminate contact. They just don't want to feel the clothes at all.
Right.
But the compression crowd is fascinating. This taps into something called proprioception.
Proprioception, that's body awareness, right? Knowing where your limbs are.
Exactly.
Huh.
For some autistic people, their sense of body position can feel a bit floaty or ungrounded. They might not intuitively sense where their arm ends and the air begins. So compression, like a tight underlayer or a heavy hoodie, provides deep touch pressure. It effectively tells the nervous system, here's where your body is. You are contained. You are safe.
The source used a phrase I just loved for this. They called it a quiet exhale for your nervous system.
It's a beautiful description, isn't it? It grounds them. It's the same principle as a weighted blanket, but you can wear it.
So real accommodation isn't about saying everyone must wear baggy pants.
No, it's about offering the menu of options so a person can choose the regulation tool they need for that day.
And that menu of options brings up a really important distinction the source makes. There's adaptive clothing, and then there's sensory-friendly clothing.
And they are not the same thing.
The industry seems to get it wrong a lot.
This is a huge friction point. A lot of mainstream brands have started releasing adaptive lines, which is great in theory, but they often approach it from a very medical, clinical perspective. They think, okay, this person has a disability, so let's use Velcro instead of buttons.
Which helps with dexterity, sure. If you have trouble with buttons, Velcro is easier.
It helps with the mechanics of dressing, yes,
Yeah.
but it completely ignores the sensory aspect. Have you ever felt the edge of a strip of Velcro?
It's scratchy. It's stiff.
It's scratchy, it's stiff, and it's loud. If you're designing for an autistic adult with sensory processing disorder, putting a giant strip of Velcro down their chest might be a total nightmare.
It solves one problem but creates 3 new ones.
Exactly. And then there's the aesthetic issue. The source was pretty critical of how childish a lot of adaptive clothing looks.
The infantilization of disabled adults.
Precisely. Just because I have sensory needs doesn't mean I want to dress like a toddler or hospital patient.
Yeah.
HeySD puts a huge emphasis on the fact that they're autistic-owned. They aren't guessing what the community needs. They are the community.
That ownership aspect seems to change the testing process, too. They mentioned the 12-hour rule. What's that?
This is the real litmus test.
Yeah.
A neurotypical designer might touch a fabric for 30 seconds and say, ooh, that's soft, let's make a shirt.
Right.
But an autistic designer knows that softness can change. How does it feel after 4 hours at a desk? How does it feel after 8 hours when you're sweating a little? Does it start to pill? Does it get heavy?
It's about the cumulative load over the whole day.
Exactly. There's this anecdote about Sarah, a customer mentioned in the source. She said she wore a shirt for 12 hours and forgot she was wearing anything. In the fashion world, you usually want people to notice your clothes. Here, the highest compliment you can pay a garment is that it disappears.
If the clothing disappears, it frees up the brain to do other things. And this connects to the idea of clothing as a tool.
Right. Not just a covering, but a utility for mental health. I mean, think about spoon theory or energy accounting. If you start your day fighting with your socks, you've lost spoons, you've lost energy. By curating a safe wardrobe, you're protecting your mental bandwidth.
It eliminates decision fatigue, for one.
Huge. If you know that every single shirt in your closet is safe, meaning it won't hurt you, you don't have to stand there for 20 minutes stressing about which one is the least painful option.
You just grab and go.
You just grab and go. That sets a positive momentum for the entire day.
But it goes deeper than just the morning routine. The source talks about crisis support and avoiding burnout.
This is where texture becomes an anchor. When an autistic person is approaching sensory overload or a shutdown, the world becomes incredibly aggressive.
Right, lights are too bright, sounds are too loud.
Exactly. So having a comfort item, like that bamboo hoodie we mentioned, provides a predictable, safe, tactile input.
It's a sanctuary you can wear.
It really is. It can de-escalate a meltdown. Knowing you have that hoodie available can be the difference between needing to leave an event early and being able to stay. It's a coping mechanism on a hanger.
Speaking of events,
Yeah.
we have to talk about the dressing up minefield.
Oh boy.
Because everything we've just discussed, softness, breathability, loose fits, that is the exact opposite of formal wear.
It really is. Formal wear is basically designed to be uncomfortable. Starch collars, stiff wool, polyester linings, tight waistbands. It's a sensory nightmare.
The source calls it a quiet storm. You have a wedding or a job interview, so you're already anxious,
Wow.
and then you have to put yourself in a straitjacket.
And for so long, the advice was just suck it up. But HeySD offers a really practical strategy guide here. They don't say don't dress up. They say hack the system.
Okay, give us the hacks. What's number one?
Layering. This is so simple but brilliant. Wear your sensory-friendly gear underneath the formal wear.
Ah,
A thin, skin-tight modal undershirt can create a barrier between your skin and that scratchy dress shirt.
so you get the look of the button down, but the feel of pajamas.
Exactly. You separate the aesthetic from the sensation. Your skin only talks to the soft layer.
Smart. What's next?
The second strategy is fabric swapping. Men's fashion especially has gotten a lot more flexible. You don't have to wear stiff wool slacks. You can find chinos with like 4% elastane, that stretch.
Or a knit blazer.
A knit blazer that feels like a cardigan but looks like a suit jacket. It's about prioritizing the texture over the tradition.
Yes. And my favorite piece of advice from this section was the test run.
Oh, this is crucial. Everyone should do this, honestly.
I agree.
The advice is never, ever put on an outfit for the first time 20 minutes before a big event. You have to wear the full outfit, shoes, belt, everything for 1 full hour a few days before.
Wait, a full hour? Why not just try it on?
Because of that accumulation effect we talked about, everything feels fine for 2 minutes in front of a mirror.
Right.
But at minute 45, that is when you realize the tag in the waistband digs into your hip when you sit down, or the collar rubs your neck only when you turn your head to the left.
You find the demons in the outfit while the stakes are low.
Exactly. That way you can fix them, or just choose a different shirt before the panic sets in.
Yeah.
And always, always bring it back up.
A deregulation item?
Yep. Have your safe hoodie in the car. Just knowing it's there lowers your anxiety. And if you hit a wall, you have an escape plan. Go change.
This leads to an interesting point about identity. There's a shift happening from, hiding the autism to claiming it. The source mentions clothing with slogans like autistic and authentic.
This is so powerful. For decades, the goal for many was masking, pretending to be neurotypical to fit in.
Which is exhausting.
It's exhausting work. So wearing a shirt that explicitly states your identity is an act of reclamation. It says, I'm here, this is how my brain works, and I'm not apologizing for it.
It reminds me of the story of Marcus in the notes. He said wearing that shirt made him feel like he wasn't a medical label, but just a person with a different operating system.
It signals to others, but it also signals to yourself. It validates your own experience. It builds pride.
So we've covered the why, the what, and the how, but I want to talk about the how much, because rebuilding a wardrobe is expensive.
It is.
And specialized clothing often costs more than a 3-pack of tees from a big box store.
It does, and that's a real barrier. But the source applies a bit of textile economics here. They talk about cost per wear.
Walk us through that math.
Okay, say you buy a cheap $10 shirt.
Yeah.
But it has a scratchy seam. You wear it once, you hate it.
And it sits in the back of your drawer.
Forever. That shirt costs you $10 per wear.
Bad investment.
Terrible. Now, take a $30 sensory-friendly tee. It feels amazing. You wear it once a week for a year. That's 52 wears. The cost is about 57 cents per wear.
And you were comfortable the whole time.
Exactly. The argument is to stop buying filler clothes. Buy fewer items, but make sure every single one of them is a 10 out of 10 on the comfort scale.
And they also suggest buying multiples, right? Which runs contrary to every fashion magazine ever.
It does. Fashion magazines tell you to diversify.
Yeah.
HeySD says, If you find the Holy Grail hoodie, the one that feels like a hug, buy 3 of them.
Who cares if they're the same?
Who cares? Maybe in different colors, maybe all in black. It reduces variables. It stabilizes your environment. You know exactly what you're putting on. There are no surprises.
For an autistic adult, predictability is a love language.
That's a great way to put it.
So zooming out, we started this talking about a messy closet, but we've ended up somewhere much bigger.
We're talking about the foundation of well-being. That's the takeaway. We tend to view clothing as fashion or status or just utility. But for this community, clothing is an extension of the body. And if your foundation is shaky, if your skin is screaming at you all day, you can't build a stable life on top of it.
You can't focus on your career, your relationships, your art, if you are constantly fighting a tactile war.
Precisely. Getting the clothing right isn't about vanity. It's about clearing the deck so you can actually live your life.
It's a form of accessibility that we can all control. And that leads me to a thought I want to leave everyone with. We talk a lot about inclusive design and architecture ramps, wide doors.
Right, the visible changes.
If we start to view clothing as a form of accessibility, literally as essential as a hearing aid or a wheelchair ramp, how does that change how we judge people?
It forces us to confront our biases, doesn't it? We judge the guy in sweatpants at the office as lazy, or the woman in the loose dress as sloppy.
Right.
But what if those sweatpants are the tool that allows that person to be the best engineer in the building?
What if professionalism wasn't defined by how stiff your collar is, but by how well you actually function?
That is the question. If we truly want inclusive workplaces and societies, we need to expand our definition of what acceptable looks like. Comfort shouldn't be a luxury. It should be a prerequisite for participation.
I think that is a perspective shift we all need to sit with. A huge thank you to the team at Hey ASD for the incredible source material and for doing this work.
It was a pleasure unpacking this.
And thank you for listening. Go check your labels, feel your fabrics, and be kind to your nervous system. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Take care.